today to discuss the implications of the TRAI's order on discriminatory pricing. Are the two gentlemen who've been very vocal about their views on net neutrality, Rajya Sabha MP Rajeev Chandrasekhar and Pinstorm founder Mahesh Murthy. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us on the show, and congratulations to both of you because you've been fighting this battle against differential pricing. So the TRAI order is probably welcome news to the two of you. But Mahesh Murthy, let me start by asking you, while it's good news as far as the crusade for an equal playing field or a level playing field is concerned, it's good news for net neutrality. But to play devil's advocate, the US FCC does allow zero-rating platforms. The EU does allow zero-rating platforms. So why should we take this maximalist position in India where we say no zero-rating platforms can be allowed? The FCC does not allow throttling of any services or slow or fast lanes. Neither does the EU. We still have to take that decision here in India. That's the next step for the TRAI. But, you know, why should we take this position against zero-rating platforms?
So first, let me just come to that one by one. There's a long set of questions. So first, thank you. Yes, there's a bunch of happy people. It's not just me, and there's a large bunch of people in the Save the Internet movement who've been spearheading this. I'm just a small part of it. Second, before I come to this, I really want to say, first of all, that it's truly a momentous decision that TRAI and its chairman have taken today. And it's, in fact, exactly as you said, it's probably far and away the single most progressive net neutrality based legislation in the world out there. It's far more sharp and far more clear than even the FCC's ruling on net neutrality. And I can imagine, I'll come to that question first. And the reason for that is simply because that our chairman and our TRAI took a stand where he was able to resist the lobbying of Facebook and Airtel. And I can only imagine that the guys at the FCC and EU are not able to do that. So, you know, it was pretty clearly set out here that we do still have almost 1 billion people, or 900 million people who are not yet on the internet. What's really brought us so far is an open and openly equally accessible internet. And what will take us forward is this equally accessible internet. And what really TRAI has done today is to really put that in writing. And what's really interesting is, even though there may be a couple of niggles in terms of the letter of the law, what's really clear is the spirit of the law is absolutely clear out there, that, you know, a byte is a byte is a byte. You're not going to be able to charge separately for different bytes going through the network. And that's a momentous ruling.
Rajeev Chandrasekhar, let me put that point across to you. At the World Economic Forum, you had the leader from Rwanda on a panel with Sheryl Sandberg being asked this question, saying that, look, countries like India are opposing free basics. Why have you decided to go the free basics route? And his point was, I'm okay if people in my country get access to the internet and Facebook makes money off of it. I have no problem with that. So take the argument forward, and that's the question that people are also asking. I'm sort of looking at different comments. Of course, this is one side of the argument, but there's a different side of the argument as well, saying that, you know, this digital India promise that the government has made and so on and so forth. How do you provide access to the millions who don't have access to the internet?
And that is a legitimate question, Shereen. And I have, through this entire net neutrality debate, tried to urge people to not make this a rant about free basics and Facebook. This is really, you know, free basics and Facebook are a very small part of what we want to do in digital India and what we want to create in terms of net neutrality. This has always been an issue about the power of the telcos and the power of the pipes to the internet, the access providers, and the need to prevent the cableization of the internet and to prevent an irreversible situation where telcos gain so much power over the internet that it becomes very difficult to regulate. It is, in a nutshell, that is the issue. And with differential pricing, the TRAI has used all of the powers that it has under its act to dice and chop one piece of the net neutrality puzzle and say, thou shalt not do differential pricing. There are many other issues still left to make it full-blown net neutrality, and that ball is now in the court of the government because the TRAI does not have the powers to intervene or interfere on issues of slow lane, fast lane, prioritization of data, you know, and data, sponsored data, and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of work still to be done. This has never been about free basics or Facebook, and unfortunately, It has become that and moved the debate away from also the issue and challenges of creating access and connectivity to the unconnected. Now, the net neutrality debate and the character of the internet is one piece that must be complementarily discussed and debated along with the need to create more access and more connectivity. This is not a zero-sum game of saying it's one or the other. It can be both. And it is for the government to take the leadership position and say, look, here is a set of public policy pronouncements and policy action to create more access, more connectivity, and bringing the unconnected online, and without compromising the core nature of the internet, and without giving the telcos more power over the internet to play God and play gatekeeper.
Okay, Mahesh Murthy, let's just take that point forward. And again, you know, there is no one else here to play devil's advocate but me. So let me ask you this, and this is what I'm reading from a note that's been put out by Deloitte. They say differential pricing for different level of services is a well-accepted principle across all industries, from energy, railway, airline, buses, highways, etc. So why should the concept of differential pricing not be applied to the internet?
So, I mean, the answer to Deloitte's question very clearly is Deloitte is a consulting company and probably a telco paid for that report. So don't pay it any heed. It's just a piece of nonsense brought about by some analyst who has no idea what the real issues are. So it's a paid report, just put it away, right? Now, coming to the issue of Rwanda and all the other issues, this entire issue has been wrongly typecast by people saying it's an access issue. It's not. Think about it. To really access the internet, you need a 2,000 or 3,000 rupee device, right? Now, everybody assumes that's already there, but once you have the device, the cost of accessing the internet is as little. If you take a BSNL 100 MB pack, that's 28 rupees a month in most of India. That's not even 1 rupee a day. I would posit with a reasonable amount of data to back me that anybody who has a 2,000-3,000 rupee device has 1 rupee a day, right? So it's really not about the fact that Facebook was creating any great new access. In fact, by Facebook's own data, after having run free basics for over 1 million users out here, they came back and said, you know what? 80% of our guys had already kind of been on the internet before. Of the remaining 20%, 11% basically left us. Of the remaining 9%, 8% upgraded to the paid internet. We are left with 1%, right? So essentially, this entire point has been made clear that it is not an access issue. It's been wrongly portrayed, the entire idea of poor farmer, Ganesh, let's give him some internet. Why are we the elitists? Let's think about it. We are not being...
we got that. We got that argument that,
Yeah, so now coming to this entire point, the second criticism, and I've seen, people say, is this decision anti-poor? Well, sure, if you think that Mark Zuckerberg and Sunil Bharti Mittal are poor, then it's really anti-poor, because those are the only two people, largely affected by this. This is extraordinarily pro-poor. This basically keeps, puts a bit barriers on telcos and says, you know what, you can't differentiate on pricing. All bits and bytes have to go. The entire internet has to be made accessible to the people. Now, like Rajiv says, there are other issues, and I'm not sure I agree with him on one particular point. I do understand the TRAI chairman did hint today saying that there are issues of fast lane, slow lane and throttling, and that they are empowered to actually come out and make a regulation. Of course, Rajiv would know better. He's run a telco before. But I do understand that chairman has specifically made that statement that this is about differential pricing. They'll come to differential performance and differential speed later.
Well, you're absolutely right, Mahesh Murthy and Rajeev Chandrasekhar. The issue as far as whether slow lanes prioritization will be allowed or not is a decision that the TRAI will take. But as Rajeev was pointing out, that perhaps it will be not part of the remit of the TRAI under the TRAI Act. It may require the government's intervention. But Rajeev Chandrasekhar, Mahesh Murthy, appreciate you joining us here this evening to talk about the big story, and that is the TRAI saying no to discriminatory pricing.